No, a second. I am currently live right now. Hi. You can all go screw yourself. I'm just joking. Welcome back to my music video, and today we'll be looking at South freaking America. It's South America, boys. It's South America. Let's finish off coloring Brazil, and then we're gonna move into an Asian.
And while that's been welcomed, a group of academics is urging Canberra to do more.
Canberra. Because it currently looks like you've never seen a Brazilian before. I'm just joking. Brazils are everywhere, and you can't even believe that they are there.
India, just a few months ago. Erwin Renaudi, ABC News.
Scientists have thrown a spotlight on some never-before-seen creatures of the deep, including the interestingly named bony-eared assfish and the cookie-cutter
Bony,
shark.
weird
Research ship, the investigators docked in Hobart after a
fish.
30-day voyage charting unexplored areas of our ocean territory.
Dragonfish, flapjacks, and the bony-eared assfish, not creatures from deep space, but the depths of Australia's oceans.
I wouldn't call it that. I'd mainly call it a smack. But it's not. It's the government's weird cover-up to say that we're relying on socialization. The whole nation was jumping with a god.
Nets and cameras reaching 5,000 meters deep to reveal the unexplored world below.
There's these awesome things called cookie-cutter sharks that have these like a mouth like this that basically takes cookie-cutter bites out of other animals.
The teams also mapped the world these strange creatures inhabit, revealing huge mountains and volcanoes.
So basically people on pot.
Sort of 5 to 6 kilometres deep, so they're enormous mountains, double the size of Kosciuszko.
The 33-strong team included scientists from New Zealand, universities, and Parks Australia. It's hoped by revealing what's down there, the government will establish a marine national park within the Indian Ocean Territory.
And then they can build marijuana.
Helping to conserve these wonderful Australian territories.
The team was supposed to explore the Cocos Islands as well, but after months of planning for COVID-19, it was the ship's high-pressure equipment that cut the trip short. So a return trip is being planned.
Hopefully that will be this year or just into next year, and we'll go out and explore the Cocos Keeling seamounts.
All of this
before they sink.
A tiny section of Australia's 14 million square kilometres of ocean territory, which makes the team.
Hi guys, and welcome to North Brazil. This is known as North Very Brazil. This is known as South Brazil. And this is known as Costa Rica. No, wait, no, that's not Costa Rica. Costa Rica.
With absolutely no inkling that they might be the only NRL games played this weekend, the New Zealand Warriors and Brisbane Broncos recorded wins last night, and they hope will trigger a strong finish to the season. On the other side of the coin, frustration only continues for the Wests Tigers and North Queensland Cowboys.
The Queensland Derby remains a marquee match for the Broncos and the Cowboys, wherever the teams happen to sit on the table. But it was Brisbane who jumped out to the early lead. He does it himself! From there, the two teams went try for try.
You know, Brisbane scored when the
Both times the Broncos cancelled it out.
Broncos just posted that. I'm just joking. I support the Broncos because I'm a Queenslander, not a New South Walesman living in Queensland.
Brisbane with a field goal.
I don't know why I'm saying honestly. I'm insane. Welcome to New South Wales. I'm
first step on their rebuild and redemption.
Redemption for the ones that hurt us the most.
Yeah, I thought we were pretty well lucky to score a couple of tries before half time. That's the plan that we have in place, is to try and get something out of the next 5 games. And I believe we can, certainly with the group that we have.
Collapse.
So it's a nice win tonight, very enjoyable.
In the earlier game, the New Zealand Warriors overcame West Tigers' 10-0 half-time lead within the first 10 minutes of the second half. And they jumped out by a further 8 points with a play that pretty much sums up the West Tigers season. Tigers did close the the gap to 2 through Adam Dewey, and then had a late try disallowed.
Nothing that
The
helps the
Warriors holding
people
on despite West
from
Tigers
these
pushing
other
them to
areas
field goal attempts.
are flying their pants. Oh, sorry, I'm stopping and saying, hi guys, and welcome.
Should be something good for him.
Okay, God damn it, I'm live streaming on it.
Got to see sort of, I suppose, a new generation of players.
But with
Right,
today's
pause
games
this.
postponed, it remains to be seen how much more action footy fans.
Sorry for being silly, I'll stop being silly now and let's get back into business.
Continued its incredible run of gold at the Olympic pool with Kaylee McEwen winning her second gold medal. Ariane Titmus won silver in her third showdown with the American superstar Kaylee Ledecky in the 800 metres freestyle. Patrick Tiernan showed incredible courage in an Olympic moment we'll remember for a very long time. Australia
This weird
was
balloon,
in the
you
medal
squeeze them.
gold, silver, 13 bronze. In Tokyo, here's the ABC's national sport correspondent, David Mark.
Kaylee McEwen has only
China's ahead of Japan.
She's shown the maturity of a seasoned with a touch of class. But was the plan for 29-year-old Emily Seabold and last Olympic Games to present McEwen with gold?
Needs people and they get the machine guns they came up middle medallions.
Then Titmus versus Ledecky 3.0. This time over 800 metres. But as the race progressed, Ledecky slowly showed his strength. In the end, it was too much ground to make up. They're one of the greatest men scoring in the game so far. They both won 4 medals, including 2 golds, with Titmus as the head-to-head ranking.
Say your prayers, it's so long. Forget my son to include everyone. Wait, but I don't have son.
The first relay at the Olympic Games was a
You like the
fascinating
one?
final. Australia led with McEwen before Zach Stubblety Cook and Matthew Temple swam the breaststroke and butterfly legs. Great Britain won, setting a new world record. On the track, the 10,000 metres final produced one of those Olympic moments that will go down in folklore.
There was no way I wasn't going to finish that race. You put the Australian jersey on it.
Okay.
You got to do your country proud, and I definitely felt.
Okay, I got you, moment.
In that race, and then again this morning.
It sounds so wrong, Jordan. Why did you say
Down
that?
2-1 with just
Cause
minutes to
I'm a
play against
hippie.
Great Britain, Captain Sam Kerr scored an
Dude,
equaliser.
I'm
And then
cool.
another 2 in extra time to come away with a 4-3 victory. Australia's
I just want to tell you guys, I'm not looking forward to coloring in Asia because of the whole thing in the Middle East.
A national study has come up with a system
With me, I just changed my
potentially
emotions like
fatal
that.
genetic disorder,
I'm just like,
which it's estimated affects about 100,000 Australians. It's hoped the research will ultimately save lives by reducing the numbers suffering from heart attacks.
oh. Heart attacks aren't good.
Exercise is more important than ever for Catherine Firth.
Correct.
The 71-year-old
Exercises can
recently had a
help
health
with
scare.
I was amazed.
heart attacks. I'm going to stop mucking around now, aren't I?
You don't have any symptoms, you see, with high cholesterol. And not only was mine high, but really, really high.
How do you say?
Her GP clinic in Perth was one of 15 across the country taking part in a study that used an online screening tool to identify patients at high risk of a potentially fatal genetic disorder.
Familial hypercholesterolemia, or FH for short, is a that takes away bad cholesterol out of our bloodstream.
Catherine's case was one of 147 picked up by the study. The diagnosis may well have saved her life.
Yeah, good for her.
If you don't treat
You
it,
know, alive.
less than 50% of the men will get to their 50th birthday without having a cardiac event or die, and 30% of females with the condition will do likewise by age 60.
Generations of Australians have FH, but only about 1 in 10 of the estimated 100,000
Wait, I've only done, like,
cases are diagnosed.
10 minutes of
Partly due
this?
to poor awareness among
This is
GPs.
weird.
This grandfather, Tim, his daughter Tanya, and her 2 teenage boys all have FH.
People don't know about it. They don't realise they're effectively cutting their life.
You can see my
Or they can,
phone.
because there's no symptoms. And If you don't expect someone through, you can't fix
Oh,
it.
sorry, I'm just being
The
weird.
family now believes that Tim's father, the boy's great-grandfather, must also have had the disorder because he died young from a heart condition.
It's sad.
Researchers say it's crucial the
Life
condition
is
is
messed up.
detected early in children to avoid plaque gradually clogging up the arteries.
It's not controllable by diet only. They will need some medications and monitoring. And we need families involved.
And it's
because
weird
it's a family
moment and then
diagnosis.
not weird.
The electronic
This
screening
makes
tool
no
is being made
sense.
freely available to GPs, so more people with FH can be on the front foot.
Okay.
Claire Moody, ABC News.
Do you like Brazil?
Let's check the weather
Like,
in the
You
capital
respect
cities.
Brazil,
Sunny
so
in Brisbane, partly cloudy in Sydney. Morning rain for Canberra, possible early showers for Melbourne. Partly cloudy in Hobart, a shower or two expected for Adelaide. Showers in Perth and sunshine for Darwin. You've been
Papua
watching
New
a
Guinea.
national edition of ABC News. If you'd like to watch your local edition, just go to iView, where you can stream live or catch up anytime. I'm Miriam Corwin. Thank you for your company.
Good evening. And welcome.
Has anyone seen the movie 2012? I wonder when that's gonna happen. It's like 2021 and the whole Earth hasn't fell the sea yet, and I think that's messed up in me saying, but if I die, I don't care really, because I've lived a goodish life. I haven't killed no one. I haven't done anything that bad.
Please, could we start?
Don't be surprised
No, I'm just excited.
by the number of cracking comedies on iView.
Am I having a nice day?
Jaw dropping.
Why go out for steak when you're getting the milk for free?
What?
Mind blowing.
You're funny.
Laugh out loud lunacy.
You're the best. Yes, I know.
Complete seasons available now.
Yes, sequel one.
Stream for free on
I'm
ABC.
great. I'm great. I'm not Italian, but I'm
Welcome to
great.
1+1. I am Courtney Act. Camilla Ray musician Mitch Tambo has shared the stage with the likes of John Farnham and Olivia Newton-John and brought his
Oh my
language into living rooms around the country
Shit.
on Australia's
Excuse me,
Got
what
Talent.
the?
It's his passion for music and culture and lifting up young people.
That was the
and I
loudest
want to
part
talk
I've
to him
heard.
about today.
Are you gonna kick it or am I kicking it?
I'll kick it.
You gonna kick it?
Yeah. 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah. Giru ganunga 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 giru ganunga.
Sorry, fun. It's me. Brazil.
Everybody breathe and everybody bleed. Absolutely everybody, yeah. Mitch Tambo, welcome to 1+1.
Yama yama, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. We both got our sort of big break in a similar way, singing on reality television. What was the impetus for you? Because you were already an established artist before Australia's Got Talent. What was the thing that made you want to take your work to such a public forum like that?
I think for me, I was at a point in my career or journey where I just was like, you know what, this year, it's time to grow. It's time to break through fear. And
He's
what
clever
better way
for saying
to
that.
do that than to jump on, AGT in front of a massive crowd. It's got a worldwide reach and just go for it. But the purpose that was really driving it was I just really wanted to get out there and just show the world that, our culture, our Camilla Ray language is still here. It's alive. We have survived. And, just represent my ancestors that have gone before me and just put it out there and
Cheer the country of Brazil. Excuse me again, but that was a very fluffy beat.
What was that experience like and the aftermath of that?
Well, the aftermath was amazing. I had some incredible support, obviously from around the nation and world. I had some of my songs chart #1 around the globe and #2 in the UK and get into some American charts, which was just phenomenal, and had people reach out from all over asking if they could get certain words of mine in their tattoo sleeves and just sharing all their stories with me, fighting through cancer and just a whole number of the things that was absolutely incredible. But I think the harshest reality was not being ready for the online negatives too. I think you can prepare yourself mentally as much as possible. When it actually happens, it's a whole new ball game. So I had to quickly
I feel like that's gonna fall.
Come up with strategies of how I was going to navigate through that and push through, and also realise that this is how it is. I'm sure you've probably had an abundance of it. It's what happens when you put yourself out on a platform. You're going to have a whole bunch of good and not so good.
I was lucky when I was on Australian Idol, the internet didn't really exist yet. So there was certainly no comment section, which was handy. Were you able to, after that sort of negative comment sort of takes precedent in your mind, are you able to step back and feel the love?
Yeah, 100%. Through that journey, what I did realise is I've got such a tight support network and such a strong community that are really with me and riding with me. And I take courage of that, and also it really made me reflect on why I've decided to do what I do. From the age of 15 to now, what really drives me to be me and what has really made me want to step out and take this leap. So I tend to always reflect on that, and that helps me get through as well. And just, we all kind of help it. We're in this online world where you got to get it. I've got a traditional headdress on my head. There's people out there that just are uneducated and really don't care, and they're going to hammer me for it. I don't look like the stereotypical blackfellow, so to speak. So I knew all this when I stepped out, but you can't prepare yourself for how you're going to handle it. And for me, I'm blessed that I've got a great support network, and that for the most part, I knew what I was in for. And when it did start to impact me, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go back home, I'm going to go out and bush for a week, I'm going to top up, and I'm going to come back even better.
Before AGT, had you tried at making it happen through the commercial route?
No, not at all. I think music for me has been really organic, spontaneous, and in a lot of ways I was never really meant to end up here. But maybe I was, I think we're all being guided in some way, but I didn't really anticipate that I'd pick up a microphone and start singing and write my own songs. I guess that's what I'm saying. So yeah, it's just kind of happened really organically, and then taking the step with AGT was, I guess, in a way, getting a bit more serious about it and wanting to explore that avenue.
Because there's something I think really powerful about reality television as a format. I've lost more reality TV shows than most people, and as a member of the queer community, I never saw myself represented on television. It always felt like the people in charge weren't taking risks when it came to people like me. Yet there seems to be a lot more risks that they can take on reality television. Was that a conscious thought going into it, or is it just sort of like, I've got this stuff that I want to showcase to the world?
It's definitely a conscious thought, because growing up there's not that representation. I mean, you've got Yossi Indy and all these amazing artists that we all know of that are incredible, and I grew up in Tamworth around Uncle Roger Knox, who's like an icon in his own right. But in terms of that main stage, a representation where it's like, wow, that is me. I don't know if I really got that, and I was really purposeful in going out of, I want to just be me and represent that. And it was the first time that I hadn't really been fully painted up to a degree. I mean, a lot of my shows before that, I was at least 50% painted up. But with this, I was like, yeah, well, there you go, see.
The intro Brazil is not coming in.
Of that, and that is,
It's a 1-inch run.
I feel like I am that, black belt before colonisation. I feel that intense connection to my ancestors. I feel like I've been called to do what I do.
Leave a
I really
comment
do
down
in my
below.
heart and spirit. But on the flip side, I'm also this brother boy that's grown up in a very forever changing Western contemporary world. So who I am is reflective of both of that. And that's when I stepped out in that big orange tracksuit with my headdress and the whole nine. I was like, well, that's who I am. And it's not just me also. There's heaps of us brothers and sisters out there that belong and are very strong culturally, and also very passionate about, fashion and whatever
Brazil
it may be.
is
So why not
done.
bring the two together,
Say
be respectful,
hello to
but be
Brazil.
reflective of who who I am,
Say
and hopefully allow that to
goodbye
resonate
to
not just with
Brazil.
my own community, but with
Say
all from all walks
goodbye
of
to
life. You know that
Brazil.
you can just step out and be you and not have to forsake any
Say
element of you. You know,
goodbye
you should be
to
able to
the
walk down the street
Brazil.
and rock your burqa
Say
and not feel any which way
goodbye
about
to
that.
Brazil.
You know, and
This is
I just
how
wanted to play
we
my
roll.
part. You
Say,
know, the
I'm
message
just
is all
joking, Brazil. I respect you.
I love that you visually represent your culture as well.
Me, we're going to be moving on to
First and foremost,
Asia.
like,
Asia. Has anyone
your
ever been to
headdress
Asia?
and your paint on.
Asia. Like Japan,
Why
Asia.
is that
Asia,
visual
Asia, Asia.
representation something?
Japan is a respectful
Well, first
country.
and
It is
foremost, that's who I
located
am.
in Asia.
You know, I am a traditional
The
color, you know, in terms
I'm gonna
of
make
dance,
Asia,
culture, just everything.
Japan,
you know, live and breathe
purple.
culture, and I didn't want to forsake that in
So
moving into the
there.
commercial space at all. You know, I had to bring me into it. So it's only right that I rock it, you know. So this is a traditional headdress. You got the Dinawan feathers, the emu feathers, red-tailed black cockatoo. The glue in the middle here is beeswax from the native bee. And obviously I've got my white ochre. And yeah, the feathers are representative of different stories, and I carry that with me.
I love that. And singing in language, where does that come into it? Is that something, I feel like young Indigenous kids across the country hearing you and seeing you and hearing you sing in language is such a powerful thing.
This is how
It's funny
we
because
roll
obviously I'm a
it.
fluent English speaker. I'm not fluent in my language, but I've only ever really sung in my language and never read English. I mean, people are probably like, oh, yes, you did. You were here at this party when we were 16, and, you know. But it's like, no, I never jumped on stages or anything singing in English. And in fact, that taunts me to this day. Like, I freak out.
Japan.
You know, so it was through AGT. It was the last,
And now we're going to be doing
like, half an hour before getting on stage, or the last rehearsal. And my team said to me, you don't have to do this. You don't have to sing the breakdown. And I was like, well, this is what I've come to do. So you're the
Can't
worst
see
I'm going
Hong
to
Kong,
just
but
do it. I'm just going to
let's
sing
just
for the
do,
first time in English and just see what happens, you know?
Taiwan.
The language component, I feel like it's me. You know, I feel like when all of us connect with our mother tongue,
We're going to be doing
something
North
supernatural happens. You
Korea.
know, there's an amazing connection that happens. And for me, I've only ever wanted to sing in my language, and that comes from just growing up and being immersed in culture and singing traditional songs. And I think it just got to a time in my career where it was like, well, I want to not just do an album that's dig and instrumentals. I want to do something that's reflective of me, and I want to tell my own contemporary story. So I decided to start singing in my language and telling my own stories.
And when
Now
it
we're
comes
gonna
to
be doing
writing those
South
stories, what's
Korea.
that process like? Do you write with other writers who speak Kamilaroi?
I work with Aunt Bernadette Duncan, who's out in Bogabilla, and yeah, she's a phenomenal woman. You know, she's at the forefront of, you know, keeping language alive. So we've formed this amazing, you know, team, and we just go back and forward, and she does a lot of the translations of my songs and helps me with language, and has taught me so much. So
I only speak English. I know some choice phrases in other languages, but I'm always fascinated about the translation for a song like "You're the Voice," where you were translating from English into language.
Now we're going to be doing
How
China.
How
China.
literal or how challenging is it to get the lyrics and the beats and the syntax of it correct?
Courtney, can I just tell you that it is so hard. It's so hard. It's so extremely hard. And it's hard for a number of reasons. And the first reason is because it's hard. The second reason is it's because you don't want to disrespect your own language.
Yeah.
The third reason is you don't want to disrespect the other song either. And it's not like English and language has been made to just fit together like a perfect puzzle.
Yeah.
So it's about keeping the story and the integrity of it, and just working and working and working until you've got a translation that is like as good as it can get.
Yeah, right.
And it's such a process, because in our language, you know, you could say one word, but it means a certain thing, and you say that word again with a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of an inflection, and it could mean a completely different thing. So it's like you go back, you go forward, you go back, you go forward, and then you step on the stage and hope for the best.
Hope for the best. Yeah. Oh, that's nice. I want to talk about growing up in Tamworth,
Sure.
your mum, and you've
In the
spoken
Mongols.
about how she felt the need to protect you.
Yeah, I think that's all mothers, you know, plight, duty, however you want to look at it, is to protect, isn't it? But certainly, you know, with my journey with my mum, 18 months old, single mother, from my knowledge, sort of, you know, I guess mid-20s, and, yeah, so we moved to Tamworth and we ended up, Housing Commission. I've got nothing against Housing Commission. I think, Housing Commission provides so many amazing opportunities and places for people to lay their head where they never could, and they certainly did for us. So it's not to bag out Housing Commission. It's just that through that experience, it got pretty hectic at times, And I guess when we talk about protection, I put an article out recently about our time there and, Mum having a pet cat and that cat being stolen by some men, and they'd get up on their roof next door all night, meowing drunk and just tormenting her, And I remember being this kid waking up, having dreams and going, Mum, they're coming to get you, I'm crying. And she'd get up with a crowbar and we'd walking up and down the house, checking windows and doors, and it's pretty full on, And I look back and I'm like, wow, I thought I was just having nightmares, but, it's actually a bit of trauma, isn't it? Because, you're in this whirlwind, for a moment. But, we got out of it and lived with my nan and pop for quite a
They
while.
are the sights of the desert. We are revolutionary. Now we know the
just ethics and morals and just
the
the basic stuff, You say you're going to do something, follow it through, and just all that kind of thing. But now, she's got her own house, got a beautiful husband. Shout out to Grace, an awesome stepdad. She's just powering along, so it's great.
You mentioned earlier the age 15. What was it that happened at 15 that began you in this career?
I think 15 for most teenagers is a pretty pivotal period of time. And it was through that period of time for me where I just really started to get hungry for culture and really hungry to just understand who I am and, really get a better grasp of my identity. And, Mum just really got around me and really pushed me in that path. And I think that she could identify really quickly that getting on this path and immersing myself in my culture and getting that deeper understanding of who I am would help me make better informed decisions, moving forward. That if someone was like, come under the stormwater drains and let's go smoke a couple of cones or something like that, that I'd be like, well, no, that's not who we are. I come from the oldest living continual culture on the planet. We don't do that. And I feel like I really believe in that to this day too, for all young people out there. When you've got a better understanding of who you are and what you are truly connected to, and when you're feeling lost and alone, you can look up into the stars and see your stories. There's something really beautiful in that, and I feel like that transcends to all people from all walks of life and culture. If you have a better understanding of who you are and where you come from and what you're truly connected to, I feel like it just stands you upright spiritually.
That's got to be the key to helping young First Nations kids in Australia feel connected and there's I know that there can be such a feeling of being disenfranchised by the systems and the structures, and it does seem that putting a focus on culture can really ground someone and connect someone, and it's so interesting hearing you talk about finding that path at 15. How can we encourage more people to find that path, and what sort of systems are in place or can be in place to just share culture with young First Nations kids and also non-First Nations kids to develop that appreciation?
Totally. It's funny you say that. I've actually got my own little, I don't know if it's a business, but it's called Wallumbah, and we go out into schools. We work with kids in foster care, juvenile justice, prisons, do staff development, and it's all geared towards, sharing culture, sharing my culture. And through that experience, allowing us to open up that conversation with youth about, what is it? What foods do you eat? What language do you speak? And allow in that brief period of time participants from all walks of life to engage with their own sense of self. But it's purely through the celebration of our culture and telling the true history of us, First Nations mob. There's so many of us out there now that are on a path of healing and healing through culture, and I think that's powerful.
It's so fascinating to hear about your journey, because I think about growing up as a young queer person, and I know how validating and how important it's been to me to hear about people who came before me. And a lot of it for me in the early days was oral history in dressing rooms with older drag queens and queer people just having a yarn about Dal, I remember back, in the AIDS crisis in the 80s, and sharing those stories. And you're just like, why don't I see this? Why aren't these stories being told? And thankfully, I think for First Nations people and for queer people, there is more visibility now. And I suppose from a First Nations context, truth-telling is something that's really important as well.
we've got to tell the truth. You know, we don't have to sit there and point the finger and condemn one another and get into a massive war of words, but we certainly need to tell the truth, and we need to tell the truth with the whole intent and purpose being around healing. You know, we need to heal. We need to heal. You know, you want to eradicate and break down a culture quickly and dismantle it. You rob the people the opportunity to speak language. You know, we've had language, kids stolen, all these things. You know, the list goes on. Massacres to dismantle our culture, but we are here, we have survived, and now it's time for us to get back to our culture the best we can and heal through it and celebrate it and share it. But we need to heal, and to heal we have to tell the truth, and let's tell it, you know, in all of its horrificness and in all the beautiful things too, and that is, you know, the stolen generations, the genocide. Let's tell the truth. You know, the truth is genocide has never stopped. You know, our kids are still killing themselves. Our kids are being removed at alarming rates. You know, the high levels of incarceration, you know, the domestic violence, the transgenerational trauma. You know, people don't think transgenerational trauma exists. It exists. You know, it's been proven that it can be passed on in the DNA. You know, and I say all these statistics and I say all this not to put heaviness on you or to anyone that may be viewing, but to shed light that this stuff is here and it's happened, and we need to talk about it so we can keep educating others. So the more we get educated, we can have more momentum, and through that we can break these cycles.
I'm interested to know from your standpoint,
excuse me,
how can people be better allies, I guess?
Just listening. You know, like the reality is, you know, I've done many workshops and shows, and the thing that I find triggers people the most is when you get to the conversation around the national apology. And as soon as you start to touch on that topic, you know, something happens in the room, and you sort of almost count to 10, and you know it's coming, and it's well, I'm not sorry, I never did anything. And my response has always been, I'm not here to point the finger at you, but through this conversation, I hope that you walk away with a greater capacity and some empathy for our story. You know, I feel like maybe we've been conditioned as a society to switch off that human component when it comes to our story, or stories like that of other backgrounds or communities, where really what we need to be doing is growing capacity, and within that growing empathy for one another. You know, the ability to be able to sit and hear your story of your community, and then for me to be able to exchange that with you, and I'm sure we'd walk away going, wow, we've got way more in common than not. What we need to do is get back to relationship and communication, and that only comes through sitting and having a real open, honest
now
conversation.
we're going to
Dropping our
Vietnam.
guard for a mere few moments.
That's why I love, you know, moments like this where we get to have these conversations, and hopefully people from my audience and people from your audience will come and watch, and they'll cross-pollinate and listen and learn something and foster that sense of empathy.
For sure. I mean, I feel like we're definitely having growing pains. Yeah, we are. We're moving forward in different areas, but our statistics are still, they're crazy, you know. But hopefully through these little wins, we're just going to keep building, and we're going to create something beautiful.
Mum's a teacher and you're a trained social worker. How did you get into that?
Social worker, I am. I went to university.
Yeah,
to all the teachers
no,
out there.
we're going to,
But it's a funny story, really, because at school, if I'm honest, I did nothing.
Good.
I remember being in year 12.
LAS.
And be like,
LAS.
Mitch, why are you still here? I had this whacked out vision that I was going to university. Like, what are you going to do after school? I'm going to go to uni. How are you going to go to uni if you do nothing? Well, I'm going to go there. You don't have to worry about that, all right? Just real adolescent. And as soon as school finished for me, I rang up this pre-programs course, Nuragili, out of UNSW. They offered a 4-week bridging program to university. And I rang them, and they're like, mate, we've seen your school report. Like, sort of don't know why you're ringing. Like, you're not coming to university. And I rang them every day for like a week. And I got to the end of the week, and they said to me, look, we get it. You're not going to leave us alone. We're going to a meeting about you this afternoon. They rang me back, and I'm like, you're in. 4 weeks. Don't let us down.
Cambodia.
Please. So I went to Sydney.
Now we're going to be doing
and,
Cambodia.
I remember I was there for like 24 hours. They put us in a hotel for the first couple of days because of accommodation issues or something. And the head of the faculty, she literally come to the hotel door, and she knocked on the door. It was me and this other brother, and she just come the day before we started, and she said, look, I'm putting my neck out here for you too.
I'm going to be doing,
If you
now
let
we're
me
going to be
down,
doing
or
Singapore.
you step out of line one bit, you're out of here. Do you understand? Don't make me look like a fool. And in that moment, my stomach just dropped and fell through the floor.
Mine did just then.
Yeah, like it was full on. She was this Auntie Sue, if you're out there, I'll never forget you.
Now we're going to be
And when
doing
everyone went and like had fun with it, I just become this
East
student.
Timor.
I rocked up to class straight away in the first day, identified completely with social work. I was like, wow, like all of us mob, we're like social workers. This is what we do. And I just fell in love with it. And at the end of the 4 weeks, I topped the faculty and I quickly just got super passionate about it. I am today. You know, I love youth. I love getting around people and supporting people and being a part of someone's journey or lending an ear. And that's where Wallabar stems from.
Okay, now,
You know, as soon as AGT happened and it was like singing, I was like, no,
Brunei.
working with kids and youth and all that kind of thing, it tops my cup up. You know, when I walk away from a workshop or working with young people, I'm like, this is what I'm meant to do, you know. And I feel that way on stage.
Now we're
There's
going to be
something
doing
different about working with
Malaysia.
the next
That was quick
generation,
Malaysia
to be able
time.
to walk away from that like, you know, I was that kid. You know, we did a camp recently. I did it with my wife, Leah, and she was like, are you nervous? And I was like in front of like 20 kids. I'm like, I'm nervous today because it really means something to me. You know, I remember being that young fella on that carpet, you know, not knowing what I'm hungry for, and not having someone there to necessarily feed that. So to be in a position to go and talk and share my journey and the hope to reach out to just one kid just inspires me, you know.
Tell me about performing for 75,000 people at the Firefight Australia concert and singing this song that you've done on AGT with
Now we're going to be doing
John Farmer.
Philippine Island.
Definitely out of this world.
This is Mitch Taylor, folks.
Yeah, it's pretty insane when you get out there and you can't absorb it. Like normally when you perform, you catch at least a couple of pairs of eyes, you know, and make that connection. But I just remember being out there like, I'm just getting swallowed up. Like, you know, it's full on. The thing for me that was probably the highlight was definitely being with Uncle John.
We've done the Philippine
John
Islands.
in rehearsal.
Now we're going to be doing
There's just
Indonesia.
something about being with two absolute icons talking Greece, you know, hear all the voice. There's something to be said about that, and to be in that room and to be just feel like you belong just out of this realm. You know, and I don't mean it with disrespect, but they feel like grandparents, you know, the way that they just looked after me and was so encouraging. And there was like this moment we were midway through rehearsal or something, and John goes to Olivia, he's like, Livy, have you seen his performance? She's like, no, and he's like, John, put it up. So we're midway through and they put my version up and I'm just like cringe city because I'm like, no, like this could go wrong. And then after it, at the end, John just gave me a big hug and he was like, you know, this isn't my song anymore, it's ours, and I can't thank you enough for doing what you did with it. And I just walked away from it like, wow, like what incredible human beings, just normal people, you know, and that will just be with me forever.
And when you're up there on stage, one of the beautiful things is that your wife, Leah, is one of your background singers. What's that like, A, sharing life with her and also getting to share the stage with her?
It's beautiful, you know, it's a real blessing. She's an incredible woman. She's a strong cultural woman. She's from West Papua. She's a proud Biaki woman. She understands culture, understands that beautiful underlying connection I have for my people, and she has that for her own too. So it's just beautiful to be able to travel together and be on this journey. It's just, it's magnificent.
And you've become stepdad to her 3 daughters.
Become a stepdad to 3 beautiful girls from, we've got 15, 12, and 5. So it's all happening.
Instant
I play
family.
with Barbie, so I do it all, you know. Yeah, well, it's a bit newer to me, but I'm getting all right at it. You know, I dress them pretty quick these days. Can't complain. I'm surrounded by strong women, left, right, and centre, so it's really good. And you know, Leah definitely has been with me through all the highs and lows, and she's just such a strong, empowering, encouraging person. You know,
the morning part of Indonesia.
It's a beautiful thing, it really is.
Mitch, thank you so much for joining me. I truly hope that we just see the growth and the continuation of your art and your music and your message, not just around Australia, but around the world. And thank you so much for joining me today on 1+1.
Thanks for having me.
This week on News Breakfast will brighten your day. The stars of
Now we're going to be doing
Thailand.
Thailand.
And Luke McGregor join us as the series makes a welcome return.
And Costa will be here in his role as Land Care Ambassador, giving us all easy ways to look after our own neighbourhoods. See you then.
This is the coming of age of women in the Australian Labor Party.
The numbers game. I've been called a quota girl.
Really?
Gender quotas.
I'm not in favour of them. It was much better to work harder.
I'm going to be doing
Something men invented when women came on the scene.
Nobody
my
ever reads anybody's CV.
And the champions have changed.
It was important for Australia to
Burma.
have a female Prime Minister.
We're going to be doing Burma now.
Here's the
Burma.
ladder. Come on up.
Misrepresented. Tuesday on ABC and streaming on iView.
From the ashes, a hero returns. He shares no glory, wears no cape, and takes no prisoners.
Kids don't try that at home, but that sounds awesome.
Now, Tom Gleeson is back. He's not the hero we wanted, but the hero we needed. Heart Quiz returns August 18 on ABC TV and streaming on iView.
G'day, I'm Jan Fran.
No, we're going to be doing
Show of the century.
Not
bang
exaggeration.
Coming to the
with that.
ABC.
Yes, that is true. It is called Question Everything, a show about getting your facts straight.
It's a quiz show.
Not really.
It showcases the best new comedians.
Yeah, that bit's true.
And it gives you the tools to tackle misinformation.
You know, people call me misinformation.
That is absolutely not true.
No.
Question Everything starts
Oh, we're gonna be doing
ABC TV and iView.
Being in nature permeates your body.
Come with us
Slow down.
as we go back to nature.
Bhutan. We're going to be doing Bhutan.
Queensland Southeast now in a 3-day lockdown after the discovery of 6 cases of the coronavirus Delta strain.
Okay.
Another 210
Now we're going to be
cases
doing
in New
Nepal.
South Wales as police tune out
Nepal.
reports of the fears of another lockdown protest in Sydney. And another winning day in the pool in Tokyo. Kaylee McEwen scores
Now we're
a
going to be
Sydney
doing
goal
Sri
and
Lanka.
shares the spotlight with Emily Seablad. Good evening and welcome to ABC News. I'm Mariam Saab. Southeast Queensland is
Now we're going
tonight
to be
in
doing
its
India.
strictest lockdown since the pandemic began, as the state records another 6 new local cases of COVID-19. It's prompted health authorities to impose restrictions Queenslanders haven't seen before in an effort to contain the highly infectious Delta variant before it gets out of control. 2 Brisbane schools linked to the outbreak are closed, with thousands of students forced to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Shops packing up, crowds thinning out. As the 4 p.m. deadline approached, Brisbane's bustling streets fell silent and the southeast descended into another lockdown.
This will be
Everyone, oh my
the
god,
strictest
why is this
lockdown
happening again?
that we have had.
Like,
The
oh
tough
my
measures
god, why is...
sparked by 6 new
Yeah.
local cases of the Delta variant today, linked to the high school student in Brisbane's inner west.
The real
Until 4
sun
p.m.
shade.
Tuesday,
Please stand
11
up.
local government areas
We
in
may
the
have a problem
southeast
here.
are locked down. There's only 4
Looks like in
reasons
the
you can
city.
leave your home:
Possible.
for essential work, school, or childcare, for medical treatment, including getting a COVID test or vaccine, or to care for a vulnerable person, to exercise, which is allowed with 1 person from outside your household, or to get groceries. But both shopping and exercise must be done within 10 kilometres of your home.
That is a stricter geographic movement restriction than we've had in the recent lockdowns.
Schools will be closed during the lockdown except to children of essential workers. High school students and teachers must wear masks. Visitors to your home are not allowed.
This is one of the most restrictive lockdowns we've had since the start of the pandemic, which makes sense because this is the most infectious variant we've had since the start of the pandemic.
Weddings and funerals are capped to 10 people. Cafes and restaurants are back to takeaway only.
We're sort of getting used to it, unfortunately. The biggest problem, obviously, is casual staff and permanent part-time staff that haven't got their hours banked up. There's no money.
This lockdown has come not long after the last one, and that's why for this lockdown we will seek to have a compensation package in place.
The federal government has now declared southeast Queensland a hotspot, meaning Commonwealth support will be available.
We will reprioritise vaccine supplies if required. Access to COVID-19 disaster payments if
Wait, are you also going to say the police stand up?
Health authorities hope
We may
the
have a problem here.
3-day lockdown will be able to contain the outbreak, but admit contact tracers now have an enormous job ahead of them. A new outbreak, but the same message.
Stay at home. That's the safest place for everyone to be until we can sort this out.
She's hoping it will only take 3 days to do that. Ashley Stevenson, ABC News, Brisbane.
Well, Queensland's lockdown has thrown our professional sporting leagues into chaos as officials now work overtime to find a solution. AFL clubs fled the state this afternoon, while NRL matches to be played in Brisbane and Rockhampton have been postponed.
The NRL's unofficial home for the last month resembled a ghost town. Thousands were due to flock to Lang Park for tonight's doubleheader.
No.
In Rockhampton, Brown Park was deserted at the time it should have been hosting its first ever NRL match between the Dragons and Rabbitohs.
We were just about to get on the bus at our team hotel when our general manager pulled us up and said the game, or we didn't know then the game wasn't going to be going ahead.
The Rabbitohs had arrived in the beef capital but were soon sent back to Brisbane. By then, the NRL had confirmed all 3 of today's matches were off. In a statement, they said they're continuing discussions with the Queensland government to possibly play matches tomorrow.
There's been a few things being thrown around, playing at Monday night or maybe even going to Canberra has been suggested.
In the meantime, all players have returned to level 4 biosecurity protocols in their hotels.
There will be no football matches, so no community sport,
No,
no
it's just
professional
India.
sport, nothing for the next 3 days.
At Noosa, families of Olympic swimmers headed home hours
Let's
after
do
watching their loved
Pakistan.
ones win more medals for Australia.
Pakistan.
There's still another day of swimming to go in Tokyo.
They shot a goal.
Reserve AFL teams on the Gold Coast heeded health advice immediately.
Breaking news here from Gold Coast Suns senior coach Stuart Dew. Due to COVID, this game has officially been cancelled.
Just days ago, outbreaks across the country had forced the AFL to move several matches here to Queensland this weekend, including one to be played between the Bombers and Swans tonight here at the Gabba. By 4 o'clock, all teams had fled the state just in time. The AFL confirming late this afternoon all 3 games will instead be played in Melbourne tomorrow. And the Super Netball season will
That's a
remain
colour in
Queensland
Iran.
despite matches due to be played
I
on
run
Monday
away
and
to
Tuesday.
Iran.
Jessica Stewart, ABC
Play me a
News,
song.
Brisbane.
Play us a song. The
Southeast
enemy.
Queensland are being ordered to self-isolate for 3 days as the state shuts its border to Greater Brisbane. Among them are football fans who've come from Queensland for tomorrow's Brisbane Lions match at York Park in Launceston. Earlier today, the Premier announced Tasmania would close its border to several local government areas, including Greater Brisbane, from 4 p.m. today. The New South Wales COVID-19 Delta outbreak has passed 3,000 cases today. Tragically, a man in his 60s has died, taking the toll of this outbreak to 14 and the state's overall fatality count to 70. 210 new local
They're
infections
bad.
recorded from almost
Now speak to your
106,000
ladies
tests.
and make some
Just a
shade.
third of these people were isolating while infectious. 21 were out and about in the community. And worryingly, the isolation status of more than half of today's cases remains unknown. Well, a sea of blue has flooded Sydney CBD as authorities prepared for another anti-lockdown protest.
Dude,
Police questioned commuters and shut down train stations. Roadblocks were set up, even taxis were banned, quashing any chance for protesters to rally.
A ring of steel around the city, Sydney, awash with blue. High in the sky, on foot, horseback, and
This is
bushfire.
communism.
We don't apologise for today's operation. We've made it very
Thank goodness I live in
clear that,
Brisbane.
people should not go into the city.
Fearing the return of anti-lockdown protesters, police were everywhere.
Given that we know what coronavirus can do, it's pretty outrageous to be having a protest at this moment in time.
We will not get over this virus unless people do the right thing.
The city centre was silent, but drivers trying to get in were caught in traffic mayhem. From east to west, north to south, those without good reason were turned around.
Okay, yeah, they've got to make sure people are not going to protest, but at the end of the day, people like me are affected because I have to go to work.
Frustrating because people are going to get vaccinated.
There was a show of force at major train stations. Commuters were questioned. Some stations were even shut down, leaving platforms deserted.
You can see the police are everywhere. Hyde Park's full.
Play us a song, sir. Piano man.
Corner was covered. Even the dogs were caught in.
Absolutely necessary, and I'm all for it.
Go home, stay home, and do the right thing, save lives.
This is where protesters hope to gather in large numbers, but there's not one inside, and that's exactly how police want to keep it. Officers are letting people walk through Hyde Park, but they're stopping groups of people as a precaution.
We want freedom!
This was Victoria Park a week ago.
And that's why you have 210 cases. You're welcome, God.
At least 85 protesters have been charged and more than 300 fined since last Saturday. Health officials fear very few
Now let's
of
do
1,000
Afghanistan.
have been tested.
I am concerned.
Afghanistan time, boys.
Those people who went to the demonstration should get tested.
Today's operation ended peacefully, and it's one police hope they don't have to repeat. Mark Reddy, ABC News, Sydney.
Well, turning next to Victoria, authorities there are urging the community to work collectively to run down the last COVID cases relating to the incursion from New South Wales. 2 new local cases have been recorded, including a second traffic controller at the Moonee Valley testing site who caught the virus after sharing a ride with another infected colleague. The other case is related to the Newport apartment complex, who was in quarantine during their entire infectious period. State Health Minister Martin Foley is urging people to remain vigilant and continue getting tested.
We had a pretty strong day yesterday for testing.
Now next country gonna do is
Can I again take this opportunity to
is
anyone who's showing even the slightest symptoms, please
Georgia.
come forward and get tested. It will allow us to run this outbreak down into the ground.
Is
And as
Georgia.
all the cases, particularly in recent times,
Georgia.
that come forward have shown, getting tested early is really important.
Well, Australia has continued its incredible run of gold at the Olympic pool, with
Amen.
Kaylee McEwen winning her second gold
Amen.
medal. Ariane Titmus won silver in her third showdown with the American superstar Katie Ledecky in the 800 metres freestyle. And Australian distance
And now we're
runner
gonna be doing
Patrick Tiernan showed incredible courage.
Azerbaijan.
You'll surely be remembering from very
Azerbaijan.
Now,
Azerbaijan.
Australia is sitting fifth
Azerbaijan.
in the tally with 10 gold, 3 silver, and 13 bronze in Tokyo. Here's the ABC's national sport correspondent, David Mark.
Now we're gonna be doing
Kaylee McEwen is only just
10,
turned 20, but she's shown the maturity of a seasoned
10,
racer with a touch of class.
10
A whispered
Eucharist.
plan for
10
29-year-old
Eucharist. Can I
Emily
like?
Seacock,
Like,
the last Olympic Games,
t-
to present McEwen
can
her gold.
you
It was quite
understand?
emotional. You know, she had some tears in her eyes, and so did I.
She swam behind Canadian Kylie Mass from the start, but motored home in the last 50.
United States,
making up
Canada,
a
Mexico,
staggering
Panama, Haiti,
1.5
Jamaica,
seconds.
Peru, Mexico, Dominican, Cuba, Caribbean, Salvador, Puerto Rico,
But as the race progressed, Ledecky slowly showed her strength. In the end, it was too much ground to make up. Their rivalry has been the story of the games so far. They both won 4 medals, including 2 golds, but Titmus has the head-to-head bragging rights.
No,
Look
I
at Katie
see.
and, you know, see what she's achieved in 3 Olympics. I mean, I would dream of that
I think we've really pushed each other, not just this week, but over the past 5 years.
The first ever mixed medley relay at the Olympic Games was a fascinating final. Australia led with McEwen before Zach Sending and Matthew Temple swam the breaststroke and butterfly legs.
Now we're doing
Great Britain
Tajikistan.
new world record. On the track, the 10,000 metres final produced one of those Olympic moments that would go down in
Tajikistan.
There was no way I wasn't going to finish that
It
race.
was Tajikistan.
You know, you put the Australian jersey on and you got to do your country proud. And I definitely felt the support of the country behind me in that race and then again this morning.
As did the Matildas. Down 2-1 against Great Britain, Captain Sam
Okay,
Kerr scored an equaliser. And then another two in extra time. Australia's favourite team is in the semi-finals and a guaranteed chance to play for a medal.
Uzbekistan.
And we'll continue our Olympic coverage across the evening. Turning now to the weather around the capital cities for tomorrow. Brisbane sunny, Sydney partly cloudy, Canberra morning rain, Melbourne possible morning shower, Hobart partly cloudy, Adelaide a shower or two, Perth showers and a possible storm, and Darwin sunny with a top of 32 degrees. Well, a record amount of ice has melted in Greenland. 22 gigatons of ice melted on Wednesday. Now, that's enough to cover the US state of Florida in more than 5 centimeters of water. It's the third biggest ice loss for Greenland in a single day since 1950. Scientists say the rapid melt is caused by warm air being trapped.
I'm sorry, Florida. It's too late. It's too late for you, but not for
Well,
me.
that's the latest from ABC News. Remember, you can keep up to date at news.abc.net.au and online. I'm Marion Sam. Do stay with us. This is up next. Thanks for your
Kyrgyzstan. Play us a song by the Piano Man.
The following program is audio described on television for people with impaired vision.
TikTok is very much become a way
Okay, so now I'm gonna do
generation to express
Kazakhstan.
yourself. You're at home, you're filming, and there's always going to be like millions of people watching you.
They're always watching you.
Blow up.
I think every young kid's dream is to be successful online.
The Chinese social media platform TikTok has changed the internet. It's become the most popular app in the world.
There's fishing videos, there's cooking, comedic skits, singing, dancing, literally everything you can think of. TikTok has.
It's not an app on their phone anymore. It's their livelihood. It's how they communicate with their friends. It's how they see the world.
It's the song of the desert. We are Revolution Radio. I am bumping Indonesia with my skull. And I just killed 200 million people. Now I'm billion. Way more. 4 billion.
I'd like to think that I wouldn't have struggled with an eating disorder if I hadn't downloaded TikTok.
My claim with TikTok is that they are harvesting huge amounts of data illegally without the consent of children or their parents.
If you just look at TikTok in isolation, it seems innocuous, but it really takes place in this much larger context of data collection, artificial intelligence, and a real effort by the Chinese to consolidate influence in the region and across the globe.
Tonight on Four Corners, TikTok. In a joint investigation
Yes,
on
it's
Triple J, we're going down the rabbit hole to reveal the dark side of the app, how the platform censors political content and harvests children's data, and how the app's powerful algorithm exposes people to misinformation and dangerous content.
Hi, my name is Rory Eliza. And what?
And what do you do?
I am a full-time TikToker. So in the morning, I'll wake up maybe 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I'll check my phone, check if my videos have done well, or, how my followers are reacting to the content that I've just posted. TikTok, honestly, I get so much love on there. It's so weird because that's my biggest platform is TikTok with 5 million followers. So it's crazy to think that 5 million people, that's people. It's not just a number. And if you really think about it, it's 5 million people that tap that follow button.
Okay, now let's do Turkey.
It's weird. Like, you don't know these people, but they know so much about you that they treat you like a family member. And on that note, welcome to the new Rory Eliza.
Rory Eliza is one of millions of young Australians recording virtually every moment of their lives to get famous on TikTok.
Get ready with me for a day. Yo, I chose an outfit. Let's go. Transition, yeah. So I think every young kid's dream is to be successful
She
online.
sings
I think
she
there's
can't
definitely
get
a group where they all want to be influencers because it's kind of like the in thing now. And I think that's because of TikTok.
TikTok has been downloaded more than 3 billion times around the world. It's become a cultural phenomenon.
I'm 21 and just learned how to do my own laundry.
And some cheese.
Dude, no. You gotta go like. Oh, okay.
Now we're going to be doing the Lebanons.
Everything is about going viral.
Lebanese.
A dance started by someone in their living room and uploaded to TikTok can turn into a stadium.
Now we're going to be doing Israel.
You can be on it. Like, it's just so fun to go on that app and just express your real self.
Now let's do Syria.
Rory started posting comedic skits on TikTok and the following snowballed.
No worries, I'll scan that one right through for you right now.
This was her first viral video. It got nearly 14 million views.
Now let's do Jordan.
Oh, yeah, but we actually don't have the Peking duck, but we've got the sneaking goose. What an odd name. It is pretty normal for a book.
In 2019, Rory decided to leave school to become a full-time TikToker.
Is she in saying?
School was just one of those things I just wasn't good at. I decided to leave school when I was in year 11, and I was never there. I was always in Sydney doing meetings or presentations for TikTok, and I just wasn't there. And when I would come to school, I would have no idea what we're doing.
Now let's do Iraq.
Away for heaps of days. No worries at all. Thanks for coming to our library.
School, you can go back and do it at TAFE. You can go back any time and do it if you need it. But you may never get this opportunity again. So we just thought it was worth leaving school and pursuing more business opportunities while they were there for us.
No worries at all. Thanks for coming to our library.
How do you feel about the fact that 5 million people are watching her content?
It's incredible. It's even when she goes live. There was a time she went live and she had
Kuwait.
22,000 people watching her in her room. And my mind goes back to Elton John concert here, and she had more people watching her than we had at that Elton John concert, and it kind of, wow, that's happening in my daughter's bedroom at the moment. It was a bit, yeah.
Now let's do the United Arab Emirates.
Big fashion and cosmetic brands started noticing Rory's success on TikTok and wanted to tap into her growing audience. Companies sponsor influencers like Rory, and businesses pay TikTok to advertise on the platform. This is central to the app's lucrative business model.
In this work industry,
No,
being an
let's do.
influencer, you have to present
Oh
yourself to
my.
brands. We aren't really people. We're a brand, we're selling products for brands, so you kind of got to look apart. The money involved is enough to live off, so it's a pretty fair amount. I'm about in the medium to high range of incomes in Australia, so yeah, pretty decent.
It's hard not to even be jealous sometimes because you look at our life and, you know, we get up and we go to work and we come home and she can earn money that can take us days to earn in minutes.
I found myself driving and just crying, having like a total breakdown.
Yeah, man.
And I found myself having some really quite nasty thoughts.
Rory shares her
Yeah.
life with 5 million people,
Let's do. Yeah,
even
man.
her lowest moments.
Why am I meant to be on this earth? Like, why does no one like me? Why do I have no friends?
But
What?
most days she feels very
Let's
alone.
go.
Okay, being away from people is definitely lonely. You know, I film 4 videos a day. That's a good 3 hours out of my day, and I've got another 8 hours. And I'm like, what the heck am I going to do for the rest of the day? Like, I can't ring up my friends like, yeah, I want to hang out because they're at work. So it definitely gets lonely at times. And you know, sometimes if you're reading the hate comments and the stress load, it can be so much for your body, and you're just overwhelmed and you're lonely. So that can also creep into depression.
Catherine hasn't had a question. I'm happy to return to you, but let's just keep it simple. Andrew. Catherine.
It's been a really, really messed up week. 7 days of torture, 7 days.
With people stuck at home during lockdown, desperate for entertainment.
No, Saudi Arabia. We shall do Saudi Arabia.
Downloaded app in 2020.
It doesn't matter.
And it's continued to hold that title this year.
TikTok in Australia has seen the same
Oh, I need to turn back. So
in October 2020 there was
look at this tissue box. Actually, no. You don't have to look at tissue box. You can listen to the phone instead.
Of the popular social media apps, TikTok is the most addictive. Leaked TikTok advertising data shows users spend an average of an hour and a half on the app each day.
You know, it's like 8 p.m. and I'm watching, and then I look up at my clock and it's 2 a.m. And I'm like, where the heck did those hours go? It's because this For You page is so addictive. It's just so spot on.
TikTok's algorithm is its most valuable asset. It's designed to determine your interests and send you personalized content to keep you on the app for as long as possible.
I went and saw my mama, and I went and got my hair done as well.
TikTok works by recommending content to you through your activity on the app. So the more that you scroll through the app, the better the recommendations are tailored to your specific interests. Rather than selecting
Boys in black, I'm back. I'm back. I'm back.
Access content through one main feed, which is called the For You page on TikTok, which is essentially just an endlessly scrolling, algorithmically curated feed of videos that refreshes each time you open the app.
As soon as you sign up to TikTok, the app starts collecting data about you, your location, gender, and age, and also your facial data to figure out who you are and what kind of videos you want to see.
Your face is a form of biometric information, and your face can be analyzed to distinguish a range of personality and demographic traits.
TikTok collects your facial data every time you make a video or use a filter on the app, and can even access photos and videos saved on your phone that aren't being used on the platform. To understand how an app like TikTok interprets that data, scientists in Melbourne have developed what's called a biometric mirror.
So biometric mirror, for instance, is trained by way of artificial intelligence to distinguish how intelligent you are, how attractive, how weird, how responsible, and how emotionally unstable you are. The interesting thing there is, of course, that biometric mirror bases its assumptions on a single snapshot of your face. So all of these assumptions are generated based on the exact appearance of your face at that exact microsecond that the photo has been taken. the TikTok algorithm might read your face and think that you are dealing with a significant mental health challenge. You might be presented with videos that are created by users with going through a similar challenge at that time, and it might really create a very colored worldview for you where it's really hard to deal with your mental health challenge at that time.
Lauren Hemmings is studying to be a midwife. She used to spend her uni breaks scrolling through TikTok.
I think it was quarantine boredom that kind of motivated me to download it. It was quite an innocent hope of just getting a good laugh, really, you know, like getting funny videos and seeing what was on it. I never had the intention of making TikToks or sharing them. It was more just kind of from the viewpoint of, the viewer.
Lauren started following a popular fitness influencer on the app.
There's one woman who had quite a similar body type to me, and she expressed that she was unhappy with that body type, and she had started tracking calories over quarantine. She had lost a really, really significant amount of weight.
The algorithm then flooded her feed with content promoting unhealthy weight loss.
Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next video. Bye bye. So sad. Me has to go. Bye bye. Bye bye.